All right, listeners, if you are listening to this right now, we are reviewing WandaVision. We're about to get into episode 4. So if you didn't notice the part 2 label at the beginning of or at the end of the title, this is your chance to go back and listen. So go back and listen to part 1, where we talk about the production details, the comic book details, and episodes 1 through 3 of WandaVision. But we're going to start in here with episode 4. So episode 4 starts off with one of my favorite scenes in the MCU, and it's just so cool the way that it looks at it. It's a flashback to 2023, and we see Monica Rambeau being de-blipped. Basically, we see her dust reform, and everything that's happening. Basically, this is what happens when Hulk snaps in Endgame and he brings everybody back. We hear echoes of Maria Rambeau and Carol Danvers, which confirms that Geraldine is Monica Rambeau, who we first met as a plucky little kid in Captain Marvel. It's a chaotic scene in the hospital where we see the episode starting with people returning from the blip. At the same time, she then learns that her mother died of cancer 3 years earlier. So 2 years into the blip, her mother had died of cancer. She was sitting, essentially, when she got snapped out of existence, she was sitting in the hospital next to her mother. This is super tragic.
Yeah.
But also, really interesting to see.
Yeah. This is the third movie or property we've seen blip return. So Endgame and Far From Home.
Yeah, I think this is the most in depth, right? Because Endgame, we didn't really see anybody come back. We just there were birds, right? We didn't see them reform or anything. Far From Home, we saw the band kind of appear in the middle of the basketball game. And so we saw that, but this is I think our most in-depth look of what reality looked like when you have literally half of living things returning to the universe, which I thought was really, really interesting for sure.
I think I read somewhere that the effects of the blip basically would happen over a span of a week where everyone comes back.
Okay.
So
gotcha. There's no theme song or anything here, and there's also no commercial break in this episode. This is very much set in 2023, right? Or beyond. 3 weeks later, Rambeau returns to work at SWORD headquarters. There she meets with acting director Tyler Hayward, who helps her commit a huge security violation when her badge doesn't work. And
I can't look past that. That's just every single time I see this, and then see one later on, it's like skin crawl.
Yeah. Especially given the protocol that her mom put in place. There's in a second here they're going to talk about that Maria put in place a protocol when she was forming SHIELD or SWORD that basically people who came back from disappearing have a certain waiting period and have some vetting that they have to do, right? And I have to imagine that's put in place because she knows that Carol Danvers disappeared and she knows that scrolls are real, right?
Yeah.
So somebody reappearing is a little sus to somebody like Maria Rambeau.
That's a really good point about the having to kind of reassess and to kind of not necessarily allow, so just because somebody just showed up that they are who they are, that they haven't changed, or they're not an agent of some sort. That's a really good comment.
Yeah. So they walk past a photo of Maria, whose nickname is Photon. And they talk about the astronaut training program, which isn't going well, especially with the shift from manned missions to robotics, nanotech, and AI.
Robots are taking our sky jobs, space jobs.
They took our gerbs. It is interesting. They walk through a factory, and I don't know that we ever know what SWORD is building.
I don't know either.
Maybe it's Sentinels.
Maybe it's Mephisto. Okay, Sentinels would be cool.
Sentinels, yeah. So Hayward tells Monica that she is limited to terrestrial missions due to the protocol that we talked about, and assigns her to help the FBI to investigate a missing persons case in Westview, New Jersey.
When I saw persons, I thought usually that I think of that in the singular.
Oh,
I don't know if it was intentionally vague, if it was supposed to be
yeah,
singular person or an entire town. But
town. Yeah. Well, at this point, did they know the town was a problem? I don't. Well, we'll get into it here in a second. So Monica arrives on scene outside of Westview, where she meets our favorite agent of Phase 4, Jimmy Woo. He's finally mastered Scott Lang's card trick from Ant-Man and the Wasp and uses it with his
so
business
great.
card.
So great.
Agent Woo tells her of his missing person and that he flew out of Oakland to interface with law enforcement.
I
Um,
I cannot tell you how much time I tried to find researching Oakland plus Jimmy Woo plus MCU. I couldn't find. I'm looking for like, is there like some sort of like made up fan fiction Reddit backstory? Where is he living? In like, does he live in Oakland? I was pretty excited.
hilarious.
Question for you: you said he's the favorite Phase 4 agent. Question for you: MFK, Agent Woo, Coulson, Nick Fury.
uh, M. Woo, because he's just fantastic. He's gonna take care of you.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Oof.
Yeah, it's a tough
Oof.
one.
I guess F. F. Let's go Fury and then K. Coulson.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's the
Sorry.
iPad that does it for me.
Hey, no, this is a kink-free shaming zone. Like, if you're, I said terrible. Oh my god. Oh my god. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop. I'll save it for the secret show.
Man.
Oh my
Well,
god.
I guess Oakland, because wasn't Ant-Man in the Bay Area?
And
So that would have been.
they live in San Francisco. They're the um lab was on Treasure Island, which is halfway between San Francisco and Oakland. Some of the scenes were shot in like where the pop-up lab at one point in time was in Oakland for a second. So
So that's why Wu would be in Oakland, right? He was a regional Shield or FBI guy.
yeah, it's also hella cool. But anyway, keep going.
So a sheriff at the scene claims that the town does not exist, despite standing literally right in front of the town sign and the rest of the town. Wu can't get in touch with anybody inside. We don't. Wu says we don't have a missing person situation here. We have a missing entire town of 3,892 people. Agent Wu is able to enter the town, or is unable to enter the town due to a mysterious force. Monica tries to fly a drone into Westview, but it vanishes after it crosses into a force field that has enveloped the whole town. Monica approaches the force field and attempts to examine it, only to get dragged inside. So, in order, this is the drone is the helicopter that the red and gold helicopter that Wanda found, and then obviously Monica getting pulled in is how she becomes Geraldine. Within 24 hours, Sword assembles a base outside of Westview in response to Monica's disappearance. We see our favorite sassy assistant doctor, Darcy Lewis, has been summoned to the site where she discovers high levels of cosmic microwave background radiation, aka CMBR, emitted from the force field. She also discovers that there are broadcast signals embedded within the CMBR and asks for, quote, an old TV.
Kat Dennings is great.
She is. I want so bad a X-Files style show with Darcy and Wu.
Sure.
It'd be so good.
Absolutely. Let's do this. Wait, we don't work for Marvel. Never mind. No, that
Yeah.
would be really good. She's very charming, very funny. Like she really lifts up a lot of these episodes with just like the kind of the deadpan humor for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So meanwhile, we see Sword agent drop, or we see Sword drop an agent in via underground sewers, but Wu expresses his reservations about it. He's worried about it. Well, then we see, guess what? That was the beekeeper, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what's interesting is that Darcy watches this happen on the TV, and we see that the story just kind of doesn't happen, right? The beekeeper never happens on the TV.
Mm-hmm.
Darcy comments on Vision's presence inside the show, noting that he died at the hands of Thanos and not the snap, so he shouldn't be able to be resurrected, right? His skull was crushed by Thanos, not snapped out of existence. As the case was originally about missing persons, Wu leads his group in identifying the various residents who are the cast of WandaVision characters.
I didn't do. I wanted to find screen grabs for everyone, and then I realized this will be a 7-hour episode, so I decided against that. But I really did like the scene. Like they've got the whiteboard. They're trying to figure out, like, is Vision alive? What is the hex? Why is it a hex?
Right.
Why is there a comedy show? They're trying to, quite frankly, figure it out as we are.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really, and that's something that I think this show did really masterfully, even on rewatch, is between the red herrings and everything else, they gave you that sense of confusion. But not in like a I can't follow this kind of way that like some TV shows sometimes you're like, I just can't follow what's happening here. I don't get it. I'm gonna stop watching. Instead, this is like it keeps that intrigue, but it also keeps the watcher on their toes and kind of lets you discover it along with the characters, which is a really, really well done in this. And because it's a very thin line where it can go the other way, where it's like, this is just too heady. I don't get it. I don't understand. I give up.
Or it could be poorly written, right?
Yeah.
And there are logic gaps. Or no, Jack Schaefer, fantastic job. She did a great job.
During the second episode that Darcy's watching on the TV, he sees that Monica has popped up as Geraldine. Or I'm sorry, she sees that the Monica popped up as Geraldine. That's where she kind of gets the idea to contact through the radio. We saw that radio at the poolside meeting. And this is where we then see that Agent Wu tries to call in using like some tech that they developed. And we see that
this is where we see the edit, right?
yeah,
Like they
yeah, we
notice
see it
outside the edit,
edited.
like,
Yep.
and I thought that was like basically Darcy is us, right?
Right.
Except
Right.
with a lot more education, and we're trying to figure out it as well, right?
Yeah. Which, by the way, side note, it's so funny having Kat Dennings in this episode because I watched her sitcom, or like in this show. I knew her first from sitcoms, from Two Broke Girls, which was just kind of funny that like a sitcom themed show is she came back in on. But I'm sure her training in that, or her acting in that, informed her acting later on in this show.
And Thor as well. Yep.
Agent Wu and Darcy are watching the pregnancy delivery scene from episode 3. After Monica mentions Ultron to Wanda again, we see it with the subsequent footage where Wanda expels Monica from Westview that we saw in the last real-time episode has been removed. So instead of seeing Monica get just yeeted out of the house, instead we see the broadcast abruptly end and the credit scenes start. When Wanda returns home, she asks where or when Vision returns into the home, he asks where Geraldine is, and Wanda tells him that she has gone home. Wanda turns around to greet Vision and is horrified to see him briefly in his crushed state, right? After Thanos had taken the Mind Stone out. When Vision asks her about moving elsewhere, Wanda assures him that she has, quote, everything under control.
I think this was the part in episode 4. This was the moment where I felt like, oh, am I watching a horror show?
Right.
The grim vision, the soul death. I mean, not dead, but like lifeless form. I have everything under control. Everything's been like a joke and comedy up till now, and this is the moment. Was like, oh, there's some really dark stuff going on here. And now I'm very nervous for what's happening.
Well, and I think we knew at the time, like that. I think they were advertising that Multiverse of Madness was going to be the first horror movie within the MCU. So we knew that they were pressing the horror bounds.
Mm-hmm.
And they were thinking about that. And so it's like, oh, is this about to get real dark real quick and turn super sideways? Security alert sounds outside. There's been a security breach. Monica informs the arriving Sword personnel that Wanda was the one running the show. Wanda and Vision each pick up one of the babies, and she asks what they should watch tonight. As she turns to walk towards the couch, Vision's face momentarily changes. Does he realize what's going on?
Yeah, he looks directly at the camera. He's just kind of like, great.
Yeah. So good. And then we hear Voodoo Child by Jimi Hendrix playing. And credits.
And credits. So the first line of that Voodoo Child is, well, I'm standing next to a mountain. And so again, deep Reddit theories, right? Like Mount Wangador. Anyway. Episode 5 on a very special episode. I love all these titles. I love typing them all up. They're so good. They're so great. We now shift into the 80s. So think Family Ties, kind of 80s family show. Wanda and Vision are struggling to put Billy and Tommy to sleep. Vision goes to get the pacifiers. Wanda tries to use her magic to get them to sleep, but surprised that they don't do what she wants. Agnes is on her way to Jazzercise. Again, just happens to show up. She, in an amazing era, accurate Jazzercise costume. People will be like, why did I wear ankle warmers? But whatever. Because your ankles are freezing. Why not? Why would you not? Yeah. Anyway, she said she heard children crying, so she stops by. They're relieved, but the scene gets sort of awkward when there's like a line that gets messed up, and then Agnes asked Wanda, like, do you want me to do the scene over?
Yeah.
Right? And Vision asks Wanda, there's also a comment in there about like hand washing, and I thought it was a kind of meta comment about the pandemic. But anyway, so Wanda, Vision is in all the episodes. He's obviously realizing what's going on. He doesn't know that he's dead, but he knows something is going on, right?
Yeah, he has the awareness that they've moved from the 50s to now the 80s.
Correct. But because we won't get into it, we won't spoil it, but I guess it's the same episode. But because she created him, he has no memory past the arrival into Westview. So he's asked questions about Agnes's odd behavior. Agnes says, "Oh no," Wanda says, "No, she's being the friendly neighbor." Then they notice it's completely silent. They look in the cribs; the babies are gone. And at that point in time, I was like, "Oh man, she stole the children."
Yeah.
But it turns out they stopped crying because they're not asleep, but they've aged 5 years old. And Agnes is there sitting on the counter, like leg up. I don't know. She might even have like a morning cocktail. I don't know. And she's like, kids, you can't control them no matter how hard you try. Right.
Oh man. And that line, that hits so hard between getting to the end of this series where like the kids disappear, but also with the context of where we are in the MCU. And I won't spoil too much, but like also very much like Agatha's storyline involves kids and that sort of stuff. And so like that hits totally different than it did when this episode came out.
Yep. No, it's a theme we'll see in her show for sure. Then we get to the intro song, which was Making It Up As We Go Along. Very bouncy, very 80s, still kind of captures the 80s and the love ballad between Vision and Wanda. They have the pictures of them growing up. I believe those are actual pictures of Elizabeth Olsen.
They're not actual pictures of Paul Bettany.
I love this. I love those photos so much. I want to know who the kid was. I want to know his story. Like he's obviously like somebody's son, right? Yeah. It's on the show
that they just painted red. Like they painted the picture red.
It's so great. So we see Monica undergoing examination after getting expelled from Westview. She recalls a sense of immediate grief plaguing her while she was under Maximoff's enthrallment. So it's interesting that like Wanda is sharing and spreading her grief amongst the town. Mm-hmm. As Agent Wu and Darcy meet up with her, Rambo's bodily scans are revealed to be obscured by a blinding light emanating from her. So something is not cool right now. So at the briefing, Hayward uses Monica's intel to declare Wanda as the sole assailant in the Westview anomaly case. Hayward will provide background info about Wanda and Pietro Maximoff, the death of their parents during an air raid and their subsequent radicalization. Wu explains how Wanda, who has no funny name, gained her telekinetic and telepathic abilities as a result of the Mind Stone experimentation before joining the Avengers. Hayward labels Wanda a terrorist, but Monica pushes back and points out that Wanda doesn't have a political agenda or destructive tendencies. Monica says that Maximoff's takeover of the town wasn't premeditated, which leads Hayward to share that Wanda invaded SWORD headquarters 9 days prior, where she stole Vision's corpse and resurrected him, which Agent Wu points out is, quote, in direct violation of Section 36B of the Sokovia Accords. Thank you for the site, Agent Wu. They, talking about what a resurrected Vision looks like, how you do that with the Mind Stone, what happens if Vision wakes up. They're all going through the same questions you and I are going through.
Right.
We cut back. We see Billy and Tommy find a stray dog, which they hope to keep clean. They hide him in the sink and try to wash him and clean him up. They can't figure out a name, so Agnes just named Sparky when he caused an electric discharge by being at an electrical outlet and being wet, which was kind of funny. Vision cautions Wanda when she uses her power to create a name tag while Agnes's back is turned. So all of a sudden she named Sparky, and all of a sudden Sparky's got a name tag, and she's just getting kind of casual. She's getting a little confident, if you will.
Yeah.
Right?
I will note that Sparky was also the name of the dog that Vision created for his own, for his family.
Okay. Also, a famous baseball manager of the Detroit Tigers, Sparky Anderson.
Yeah,
anyway, WandaVision say raising a dog is a huge responsibility. They're like, not until you guys are 10. And so they age themselves up to 10. And Agnes, let's just hope this dog stays the same size. That typical kind of like,
that 80s kind of punchline. Yeah,
but also just the kind of sassy neighbor that just like delivered. It's great. So Rambo begins to plot a way to safely re-enter Westview because it went really well the last time for her, and she's not going to look any different this time around. But okay, she's like, okay, I've got it. What I need is a 10,000-pound fallout shelter comprised of lead for photons, cadmium for neutrons, tantalum for seismic blasts on wheels, and then I would be able to safely re-enter Westview, right? Complete science nonsense, but whatever. Darcy's like, theoretically, yes, but you can't guarantee the hex won't wipe her when she goes in. They talk about Wanda's powers. Monica suggests that no one else was Wanda's powers. They talk about no one else was close to taking out Thanos but Wanda. Jimmy points out that Captain Marvel came close. Darby asks if her power came from the Mind Stone. Then they shift the conversation back to Wanda. I thought it was kind of an interesting discussion about who's the most powerful person in the MCU.
Yeah.
Um,
yeah, it's and that's one of those things where like at this point Wanda, we haven't seen her full power, and this is like the first time where we really have like this show.
mm-hmm.
So and it's funny because these are conversations that the nerds at the comic book stores have been having for like years in the MCU at this point, is like, who's the most powerful? Have they nerfed Wanda? You know, all this kind of stuff.
Totally. Yeah, totally. I do. One of the things, the two comments here real quick. One is, I don't know how anybody knows like what the battle with Thanos looked like. It's not like there were video cameras. Like, is this like a retelling? Is this just like an audio book that somebody recorded, somebody who was there that saw the whole thing go down? Like, you just don't know. Anyway.
Yeah.
The other thing, which caused a Reddit rabbit hole, was Geraldine made a comment that there was an aerospace engineer that Monica, not Geraldine, wanted to contact. And then it was like, it's Reed Richards. It's Victor Von Doom.
Yeah. Ho Jensen's kid, or
there was if you looked at the Spanish subtitle version, it said engineera, which suggested it was a female engineer. And so we're just like, anyway, so I will not believe that. So they go, Monica takes Agent Wu and Darcy to the lab where her 1970s Westview outfit is stored. Monica grabs Wu's gun to demonstrate that the outfit is actually bulletproof. I don't know how she knew this, but that leads them to conclude that Maximoff is capable of warping reality. So back at Computational Services, Inc., Vision's explained to Norm how computers work. I'm sure you appreciate this scene. It's like,
yeah.
Oh, that's how a computer. What's this? It's an email.
Electronic mail. Where would you put the stamp?
Exactly. It's so dumb. And then the entire office receives a communication from Darcy, a warning about the radiation levels at the perimeter. Just supposed to be a top secret communique, but it went out to a bunch of people. So Norm asks Vision to respond to the ominous message. Vision taps into his mind, Norm's mind, and releases him from Wanda's control. And this is the first time you see an uncontrolled Westview resident, and he is pleading for Vision to stop her before he places him back under mind control. But Vision is obviously like disturbed, and this is like, I think, the turning point of like, he knows now he is, his suspicions have been confirmed, right?
Yeah.
So Wanda and her boys are playing with Sparky, and Mom talks about the family. They encounter a sword drone outside their home, which has successfully entered the town. Monica locates Wanda, and this is where, you know, they've passed the drone through. Monica locates Wanda, tries to engage her. When that fails, Hayward orders the drone to take a kill shot. The broadcast stops. Alarms begin to blare. Sword gathers around the hex. Wanda arrives with the destroyed drone. Guns with laser sights are all drawn upon her. She throws the drone towards Hayward, who tries some lame negotiation tactics. She warns the military in a very broken Sokovian accent not to interfere with her perfect reality again. Really, that accent really comes and goes.
I feel like that was a meta joke because Liz Olsen, like throughout the whole MCU, that accent has been all over the place.
It's there's some point that I'm like, hey, you know what? It's fine, honey. Don't worry about it.
And I feel like for a show where she had to do, you know, essentially 2.5 movies worth of dialogue, they were like, look, let's just drop the accent for the most part. But
it's fine. It's fine. We'll just do English. That's fine.
Yeah.
Get the commercial break. This time, the commercial family is eating breakfast, and it's the Lagos paper brand towels. And they do a little like the whole commercial is just side by side with the two paper towels, and then you get the brand slogan Lagos for when you make a mess you didn't mean to. Like,
good old Captain America Winter Soldier throwback, or Civil War.
Civil War. Yep. So back in Westview, Wanda, Billy, and Tommy are looking for their missing dog, Sparky. They find Agnes holding Sparky's dead body wrapped in a blanket. She claims he died by eating poisonous leaves. Her boys ask her to, quote, fix the dead. But when Wanda says she can't reverse death in any way, Vision arrives and provides comfort. Then later in the evening, Vision confronts Wanda about how she's keeping the entirety of Westview hostage, which Wanda denies. And this just the part about can you fix the dead? I was like, oof, this is getting weird. So
the darkness creeps in more and more every episode.
Oh, it's such a great job of just like building it, and not in any lazy way that sometimes you do in like kind of horror films, but like there's just this sense of boding, like this is something is not right here. So one attempts to avoid the discussion by rolling the credits early. And it's just it escalates. They each activate their powers. Vision is defiant and scared. He claims he doesn't remember anything before Westview. She basically gaslights him. And she was like, do you think I'm really controlling everything? That I'm somehow in charge of everyone in Westview? I'm walking their dogs. I'm mowing their lawns. I don't know how any of this got started in the first place. And Vision's basically, Wanda, what you're doing here is wrong. There's another line that Vision, this is the conversation which really summarizes, and this is where they kind of break down what's happening.
Yeah.
And, Vision basically says, you can't control me like you control them. And she's like, can't I?
Ooh.
Yeah. Tensions. Yep. Doorbell rings. Hello. We see the back of someone's head with silver hair. And to Wanda's surprise, it is her dead brother, Pietro. And as the two siblings embrace, Darcy's watching it outside, and she notes that they, quote, it's been a recast.
She recast Pietro?
Yeah. So different Pietro, different studios. Aaron Taylor Johnson died in Age of Ultron. Fortunately shows up as
Evan Peters.
Well, I was going to say is the Hunter.
That's Craven.
That's Craven the Hunter. And fortunately, and then, and here the fake Pietro, as called, is Evan Peters, who played the Pietro in the 20th Century Fox versions.
Yeah. Specifically the First Class group.
Yep.
Side note, if anybody is like an MCU purist and you haven't watched the First Class movies, I don't believe you exist, for one. Sorry, that was
oh my god.
No, but if you haven't watched First Class, go watch First Class, because like if for no other reason, for this version of Pietro, it is like Evan Peters is a great Quicksilver, and you barely even get him in this show. But we go over to possibly my favorite episode. We'll get to that. We'll decide on our favorite episodes at the end. But the all new Halloween Spectacular. This one spoke to me directly as a child of the 90s. This was like the high time of me watching sitcoms and stuff. My folks would watch it. I immediately clocked the intro song, which was absolutely Malcolm in the Middle. It was the home video footage and mom and dad in compromising situations and all of that sort of stuff. So loved this intro. The Let's Keep It Going was the name of the song. But the lyrics were pretty foreboding, which also like the like lyrics to Malcolm in the Middle aren't the most happy-go-lucky, but we got much more foreboding lyrics as the singers tell Wanda to keep the illusion of Westview going.
Creepy.
Yeah. So we cut to Billy and Tommy, who are talking about the benefits of Halloween before they mess around with their uncle Pietro, who uses his powers to fake torment them. Wanda shows up in her Halloween costume, where she's dressed as a comic book accurate Sokovian fortune teller. I love the comic book accurate like looks in this whole episode. Vision comes down in his classic costume with his like yellow cape, green tunic, and red skin. Wanda and Vision exchange some comments about their costumes before Vision bails out to attend the community watch. Wanda is peeved because this was supposed to be the first trick-or-treating event for the family, but Pietro steps in and he and Tommy don their matching classic Quicksilver costumes, complete with the slicked back silver hair, and get ready for Halloween mischief. Which Speed, who is Tommy in the comic books, his look is very much inspired by Quicksilver. Um, Meanwhile,
I love these costumes so much. This
they're
is my
so
primetime reading of the Avengers, and this is exactly how they look like. I would say that Vision's shorts look a little different.
yeah, Vision is very much somebody in the 90s dressing up as Vision from the comics.
Yeah,
But
what will be like some like maybe boxing trunks, maybe or basketball shorts. I don't
yeah,
know.
they're like running shorts sort of stuff. Yeah. But Pietro with his like lightning bolt across his chest, and Wanda in her like with her crown and the like red cape
Hmm.
and kind of like leotard situation going on. Yeah, it's so good. Meanwhile, outside the Hex, Director Hayward prepares Sword to take out Wanda. Uh, Monica objects and suggests a less aggressive approach. Hayward orders them to leave the base, but before they can be removed, Monica and Agent Wu overpower their captors and then disguise themselves in order to return to the facility. Back in Westview, we see Tommy and Billy trick or treating. Wanda arrives and starts quizzing Pietro because he looks different. Pietro, you tell me, if I found Shangri-La, I wouldn't be reminded of the past either.
Yeah, he doesn't be reminded. I'm reminded why are they trick or treating at like what looks to be like 1 in the afternoon. Like,
Yeah, they're definitely a little bit early on the trick or treating front there. Um, Pietro speeds past Tommy and Billy in order to maximize candy acquisition. Wanda finds Herb, who informs her that he has not seen Vision on patrol. In another part of town, Vision wanders into an area where the neighbors are like glitching. They're on the edge of where Wanda's powers are and kind of their background characters, right? They're only doing enough so that if they were spotted in the background, they wouldn't get noticed.
yeah, the woman who's trying to like hang the decoration and it keeps repeating and you can see a tear. You're just like,
Yeah.
ah.
Yeah. Um, I think somewhere in here is oh no. It's a little bit later on where we get the kick ass comment.
Mm-hmm.
But we move into a commercial break. We get a claymation commercial for Yo Magic. This one was like I couldn't figure out if there was like a deeper meaning to this one, but it was literally just like radical shark and I guess magic, the snack for your Yo Magic, the snack for survivors. Um it was very dark and very like surreal and very it's very clear that we're losing the illusion at this point.
Yeah, this was one where it wasn't the symbolism wasn't immediately clear. I think that people think that the shark represents Agatha or the source of her power, and Wanda is the
Her
lone survivor of trauma who's looking for emotional nourishment and sustenance. So,
yeah. Makes sense.
but it's a creepy commercial.
Yes, it is. So back in Westview, it's evening time, and Wanda forces Pietro and Tommy to return the stolen candy. Lame mom moment. Pietro recalls how he was shot like a chump in the street, and that he returned when she called someone because, when she called because he knew that she needed him. Oh, how sweet. Tommy soon shares that his uncle's or Tommy soon discovers that he shares his uncle's super speed, and Wanda advises him to take his brother along should he continue zipping at high speeds. As they leave, Wanda reminds them not to go past Ellis Avenue. We get another comment in here about what happened to Wanda's accent. And then also there is, I think this is where we also got the Kick-Ass reference where Wanda says something about Kick-Ass, which both Evan Peters and Aaron Taylor Johnson were in the movie, the superhero movie Kick-Ass, which is sort of tangentially also a Marvel property. It's not in the MCU, but it's Kick-Ass is owned by Marvel at this point, I believe. I don't
didn't know
think they've
that.
sold it back off. Yeah, it didn't start as Marvel, but Marvel picked up the rights and released, I think, Kick-Ass 3, the comic book. But yeah, it's not MCU. It's not fully Marvel. It's kind of one of those weird things, sort of like Big Hero 6, kind of one of those side properties that Marvel has kind of come and gone with. Monica, Darcy, and Agent Wu return to the Sword facility where they're watching the latest episode of WandaVision. Darcy hacks into Hayward's files and discovers that he figured out how to see through the boundary the entire time. Hayward was tracking Vision through his vibranium signature, and the group located Vision and a bunch of other residents who were barely moving. What's interesting here is this means that, so earlier we established that the Geraldine costume was reformatted from the bulletproof suit that Monica had been wearing, right? But here we established that apparently, I guess it's the body of Vision, huh? It's the corpse of Vision that no, she wouldn't have the corpse of Vision at this point.
She didn't have the corpse of Vision. She never
So
had the corpse of Vision.
So she made vibranium out of nowhere then. If he's tracking vibranium specifically.
Yes.
So she just created, which is interesting because it's insinuated that like Monica's suit was the materials reshaped, right? Because it was bulletproof, and it stayed bulletproof even when it looked like it was from the 70s.
Right. And that's not, I don't think Monica was wearing a bulletproof costume on the outside and then it got reformatted to fit the 70s style and then it got spit out. I think that Wanda created all the costumes. For whatever reason, I don't know if she's imbuing them with like vibranium. I don't know why. I don't know why to keep, if you're trying to keep the residents alive, or maybe that's just another way to kind of further control them because you control their costumes and that's a way to physically move them. Or I don't know. It's
interesting. No, that makes some sense that like maybe she did some sort of protection to protect everybody. Yeah.
Or to keep people in certain places or to know when somebody's getting past the boundaries or try to escape. You know what I mean? Like, Who knows?
So we cut to Vision at the edge of town. He tries talking to some of the frozen residents and then changes from his Halloween costume into the normal Vision form that we're used to seeing in the rest of the movies. He flies into the sky to look around and he locates a car stopped at an intersection. In this car, he finds Agnes, who seems confused. He taps her mind to unlock her true personality, quote unquote. She gasps and recognizes him as one of the Avengers. She asks if he was there to help, and he asks, "What's an Avenger?" Agnes says, "Am I dead?" Vision, "No, why would you think that?" Agnes, "Because you are." Bum bum bum. Now Vision knows he died.
Yeah, this is again. This is clearly a horror movie at this point in time.
Yeah. At this point, it's fully unraveled. Right, Vision knows what's going on. He places Agnes, quote unquote, back under. We'll get to that in a second, but and lets her drive away. Back at Sword, Monica has a plan to get back into Westview. As Monica and Agent Wu prepare to meet their contact, Darcy informs her that 2 passages through the hex had rewritten her DNA each time and was changing her. However, Monica remains determined to reach out to Wanda to help her. As the two leave, Darcy remains behind to crack Hayward's last firewall, which reveals Project Cataract. She forwards the discovery email to Wu. Back at the town center, this is where, if you're watching, I am certain this is the one from
Were you say Fast and Furious?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Back to the Future. This is like the knowing that you can 100% see. Oh yeah, that's Back to the Future. Pietro asks his sister about her involvement in the sudden appearance of Westview's children, and the handling of the townsfolk. She starts to kind of fess up and asks if he thinks it's wrong. Pietro says, "What? Are you kidding? I'm impressed. Seriously, it's a big leap from giving people nightmares and shooting red wiggly out of your hands."
I do enjoy the fourth wall breaking.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. And I will say this is more of the like Quicksilver that we're used to in the comics. Like he's kind of a dick. And he's definitely more on the villain edge of that kind of that spectrum, right? He's a little bit more towards the evil side than Wanda is, where like Wanda just kind of, she's just very emotional, whereas like Quicksilver's definitely kind of a bad guy.
Yeah, she's kind of chaotic neutral.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Yep.
He tells her that she can confide in him. She doesn't remember how she did it. She only recalls feeling completely empty, like there was a void inside her, not knowing the anomaly that would come to be. Looking back at Pietro, Wanda briefly sees him as a bullet-ridden corpse, horrifying her. Vision ventures past Ellis Avenue and finds
Don't do it.
He finds the barrier. And what's he going to do? He passes through. They witness him basically being pulled back in piece by piece, like completely falling apart because he's not in the real world. He can't exist outside the hex. As Hayward and Sword observe, Darcy, who has also detected Vision's arrival, attempts to help him, but she gets handcuffed to a vehicle. We get a whole bunch of action right here, right? Bang, 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 bang. Billy discovers he has his mother's telekinetic powers and is able to hear his father in pain. Billy and Tommy run to inform Wanda. Pietro jokes about Vision's death, leading Wanda to blast him aside.
That's a bad idea.
Yeah. Don't piss off the Scarlet Witch.
Why would you do that? Like, you've done a great job of like infiltrating, getting her trust. Why would you do that?
Billy tells Wanda that he sees soldiers, and that they think that Vision is dying. Fearing for Vision, she kind of pauses everybody. She makes everybody stop, and unleashes a blast of magic that causes the barriers to expand, which forces Hayward and his men to retreat. Darcy's left behind, so are several of the Sword agents. Darcy, Vision, and the Sword base get absorbed into Westview and become a circus. Sword, who are unable to get out of the anomaly, become clowns and other circus performers. Great little comment by Wanda there. And we end with Agent Rambeau and Agent Wu trying to outrace the anomaly, while Hayward races in another car, desperately reaches out for assistance, and the episode suddenly stops, and we get the old school please stand by, air screen.
Yeah, I think we get that a lot, but this one definitely felt like this very kind of abrupt end of like, oh, here's your cliffhanger. Wait till the next episode. I really liked the carnival makeover as the hex expands. I thought that was great.
Yeah, it was great. Great little commentary on what she thought of all of them.
The episode 7, Breaking the Fourth Wall. We're now in the 2000s. So think The Office. Think Modern Family.
Modern Family, 100%.
Right. Yeah. This very much kind of like
that mockumentary kind of
mockumentary. We are well past. There's no more thank God we got past like the fake laugh that you would like kind of pipe into comedies, which I tell you, which is just infuriating to watch. And so Wanda wakes up with that vision by her side. She gives an, direct monologue to the camera. And she says, look, we've all been there, right? Letting our fear and anger get the best of us, intentionally expanding the borders of the false world we created. And then we see Billy and Tommy arrive, and they're complaining about their game freaking out. And it turns out that the shifting of the Westview boundaries has caused the reality within to become unstable. I don't know if that's because she doesn't have enough power, or if that just means she has to readjust reality. She shifted from the 90s to the 2000s, and like stuff is just getting weird. So in their game system, they go from like a Wii controller to a GameCube to Atari 2600 controllers to Uno cards, which I thought was very, very funny. She's still wearing her Sokovian fortune teller costume from Halloween. She's reminded of the days before. She feels remorse. So she decided to do what was, quote, a quarantine-styled staycation, which I don't know if that was intentional or not, but like really jumps out. We get a bouncy techno instrumental song, which is great. It feels very Office to me. And you see the cutout letters Wanda in a bunch of different scenes. One of the scenes says, one of the cutouts says, I know what you are doing, Wanda, which is very creepy. We then get to I would say that the mockumentary approach reminded people of John Krasinski, who was in The Office and caused people to think that he was going to arrive as Reed Richards, which...
Man, everybody was going to arrive at some point in this show. Like, if you believe the internet, it was like everybody was going to be there at some point.
Yeah, at this point in time, I think people are off the Mephisto train, and now they're on to what's the next conspiracy theory we can closely hold on to, and that was that one. So
I will also mention, just real quick before we move on, in the intro scene, it's kind of interesting if you watch it with closed captioning. There is a radio broadcast that's playing in the background while she's pouring the cereal, and you can't actually hear it in the audio really, but it's kind of interesting, and it kind of gives some cool exposition because it's talking about the events of Halloween the night before, and it talks about how it's good to see the kids back after a year. Which was just kind of interesting that like, and I wish that had been a little bit more prevalent in the audio, but it is like, the first time I saw it, I was like, why am I getting closed captioning for things that aren't there? Because in my house, we usually watch with closed captioning. My wife prefers it. And it was like really weird, but it's kind of cool because there's sometimes little fun things that are in the closed captioning that you don't get otherwise.
Yeah, you get the name of the person, you get like, right, stuff like that. We then get a few cutscenes. So outside the Hex, SWORD has raised a new military base 8 miles outside of Westview. As Taylor prepares to ready his men for invasion, he's informed that WandaVision has ended its broadcast. Within Westview, Vision wakes up in the middle of the carnival. He recognizes Darcy Lewis from their encounter last night, who is chained to a car and doesn't remember him and walks away. And that's a very funny scene. Talking about like, we locked eyes, like she's just like,
this is creepy. Yeah.
All right, pervert. Wanda, Billy, and Tommy have an awkward conversation about fake Uncle Pietro and Wanda re-killing Vision. Super duper dark. Agnes shows up, offers to watch Billy and Tommy so Wanda can have some free time. Wanda prepares to relax and turns on the TV, but notices that items around the house are glitching between different eras. She changes everything back, but is clearly shaking because if it's happening in her house, it's happening all over. And her kind of perfect reality is starting to crumble because she can't keep it together. Wu receives Darcy's email about Project Cataract. He learns that Hayward unsuccessfully attempted to bring Vision back online prior to Maximoff's theft of the corpse. They meet with Major Goodner, who does not appear in the comic books at all, but who supplies them with an armored rover that meets all the criteria that Monica laid out in a prior episode. At the circus, Vision tries to convince Darcy of her existence outside the anomaly, And he's like, he knows what's going on. She does not. She says, fine, I'll go out with you, but I'm ordering the lobster. Which is so great.
So good. And this is where, like, I think Darcy, or I think the like Two Broke Girls is showing through. Like she was a sitcom actor in this era. Like it's perfect.
Mm-hmm. He releases her from the mind control. They hijack a food truck and escape. Items continue to glitch. Wanda admits she doesn't. This is where she's being interviewed. The sit down direct when you're staring right at the camera. She says she can't fix the interviewer asks, do you think that maybe this is what you deserve? And then Wanda says, quote, you're not supposed to talk. We later learn that this, of course, is Agnes doing it. Commercial break. So this is where we get the very on-the-nose commercial for an antidepressant called Nexus. And, it's your typical pharmaceutical commercial, ask your doctor about Nexus, a unique antidepressant that works to anchor you back to your reality or the reality of your choice. And I do with every pharmaceutical ad, I love the list of potential side effects. Feeling your feelings, confronting your truth, seizing your destiny, and possibly more depression. I won't read the whole, you should not take Nexus, blah, 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 blah. But the punchline slogan, Nexus, because the world doesn't revolve around you. Or does it? And you talked about Nexus, Wanda being a Nexus being, lots of connections, right? Nexus is where where they found Jarvis.
The internet, yeah.
Yep. And then the Nexus of all realities is the area where the Man-Thing protects in New Orleans. It's acts as the gateway to other dimensions. So Nexus is just a lot of things, right?
Yeah. I have to imagine this was probably Nexus being referenced just because that's most closely tied to Wanda. But
I think so, for sure. So Monica dons a spacesuit and boards the space rover. I don't know why. She's not going to space, but whatever. Go for it. Major Goodner tells Agent Wu that she is confident that Monica will sail right through. Monica attempts to drive the rover through the barrier. The density of the barrier repels the rover and subjects it to reality override. Basically, imagine if you're kind of driving and now you're kind of driving up a very steep hill and it's getting kind of slowly absorbed and rewritten. Monica manages to escape, but the rover gets spit out by the hex, and we see that half of it has been overwritten. With no other options left, Monica decides to do the safe thing and strike that. She decides to power herself through and successfully makes her way inside. So, as they always say, molecularly alter my DNA the first 2 times, shame on you. Molecularly alter my DNA a 3rd time, shame on me. But we realize it's not going to have any impact on her, so that's the end of that story. So, Darcy reveals to Vision his past life, that Wanda killed Vision at his request, and that the bad guy Thanos rewound time and killed him again while Wanda watched. So he learns about his original code goes back to Jarvis, and that his corporal form was created by Ultron. They don't know why Vision can't leave the Hex, but Monica notes he's been watching the show from the outside. And it's clear that they're made to be together. So there's kind of little emotional, sentimental commentary about this kind of true love that exists between the two of them. There's a funny scene where they're trying to make their way back into town, but there's immediately construction appears, and they're trying to fix the one light. They can't go anywhere, and then Vision's like, screw this, and he bails out and leaves Darcy behind. So Monica makes her way through the Hex, seems fine, nothing happened to her. Strike that. Imbued her with superpowers. Great. She heads to Wanda's house to warn her of Hayward's impending assault. Wanda attacks Monica as soon as she arrives, but Monica tells her she's not a villain and pleads for Wanda to drop her false reality. Just then, Agnes intervenes and leads Wanda over to her house. So almost as she's about to make the plea for her to hey, let's end this fake reality. Let's go to reality. This is not, what you're doing is wrong. we get the final scene at Agnes's house. And over at Agnes's house, Wanda sits on the couch while Agnes prepares some tea. Yo Gabba Gabba are on TV.
Gabba. Woo!
And they're singing Jumpy Jump, which might be a hint that the hint is is a multiversal jumping point. But she also notices that, more importantly, that her 2 children are missing. So Agnes tells them that they're probably playing in the basement. Seems perfectly innocent and reasonable. Agnes makes her way down where she finds a mystical book along with other magic paraphernalia. Pin the Darkhold.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to explain what the Darkhold is real quick, or should we save it?
Let's save it for when it shows up.
Agnes locks the door to the Gothic basement, reveals herself to Wanda as the witch Agatha Harkness. And of all the theories pre-show, this is the one that paid off.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone surmised that Agnes would be Agatha.
Yeah, I will say, like, even on first watch, there was something different about Agnes, and I think, if I remember right, she used the name Agnes like somewhere in the comics, but I think by this point it was pretty well in the zeitgeist that this is going to be Agatha.
Yep.
Somehow this is going to be Agatha.
Yep. Agatha hits Wanda with a spell, and the theme song Agatha All Along starts to play. And
Agatha all along.
And if you thought WandaVision was catchy and an earworm, wait till you watch an entire TV show with every theme song.
Oh God!
Anyway, from the road.
Did you catch the brooch throughout this the show? By the way, Mother, Maid, and Crone everywhere.
Yep. And so it's very much like it's the super catchy song that it was so popular. The soundtrack was released like 3 days early because people love that song so much. So then you start to get this kind of breaking the fourth wall, and she explains, like, she showcases how she meddled the entire time in Westview, which includes the talent show and her suspicious raising conversation with Herb, the imposter Pietro that she manipulated the whole time, her conversation with Vision, the car, when she was not under control, her question to Wanda, like, do you think maybe this is what you deserve? And Sparky's murder, which has this very Wizard of Oz, like, I'll get you and your little dog too, my pretty, right? Like, and the that leads to the post-credit scene that, we get the post-credit scene. I think this is the first post-credit scene we get.
Yes. And I actually missed this one.
Okay. This one, Monica's find an entrance to Agatha's basement with her heightened vision, only to encounter the Pietro imposter who says, Snooper's going to snoop. And then that's the end.
Yeah. Pretty great. I loved this like going back and the unraveling that they do during the Agatha All Along intro, where they like show all the steps along the way where Agatha did it. Great. It was really well done. It wasn't like sometimes you see those things and you're like, you just bent that around, right? That's just you're just making that. But no, it all lined up super well. It was very, very well done.
They also sometimes hold it too long, right?
Yeah.
And so this could have been like at the end of the penultimate episode, or heaven forbid, like even in the end episode. And okay, now we know the story. We know what's happened. We know we've through Monica and through Agatha, we've got pretty much the whole story of how it was done. And yet we have 2 more episodes.
Yeah. Yeah. So
for Mephisto to show up.
Yep. Sacha Baron Cohen as Mephisto. My wife.
My witch.
Now I just want, because that's the rumor, right? Is that Sacha Baron Cohen has been cast as Mephisto, and that comes back every couple of months. But
he has been cast. He has been cast. Go ahead.
I want him to do it as Borat. Just
it was so good. Jinqui.
These my superhero Wanda. These my children.
My gypsy children. Anyway.
Oh, geez.
Save for the spoiler show. It's so dumb.
So we move on to episode 8, our penultimate episode. Previously on, we get the classic Marvel intro, but it shifts instead of its classic red into purple, which is at this point very closely tied with Agatha Harkness. We go to Salem, Massachusetts, 1693. Agatha Harkness is set to be executed by her mother and her coven for practicing dark witchcraft. She is on trial. She's not on trial for being a witch, but rather for seeking too much power. As they attempt to drain her life force, she reverses the effect and kills all of the coven before she flees.
I didn't notice this the first time, but the color of the spell, the witchcraft that each one has, like the coven have blue and hers is purple, and I thought that was pretty cool on rewatch how they did that. And we'll talk about it when we get to Scarlet Witch.
Yeah. Well, and then her mom also has kind of the Scarlet Witch's crown like during the casting.
Yep.
Which is a little interesting because in the comics, the Scarlet Witch moniker and like mantle is passed down. Wanda's mom has been the Scarlet Witch and then passes it down to Wanda, and comes with that the Nexus being piece, right? And so that kind of gets passed down. So it's a little interesting that they hinted towards potentially Agatha's mom having it here. Maybe we'll find out more. Maybe I just unlocked some sort of spoiler, and maybe this was a probably at this point forgotten plot line where it wasn't actually going to be Agatha's mom. Instead, it was going to be Wanda's like biological mother was in Salem, Massachusetts. Who knows?
I'm glad that you're coming out from underneath Wanda's mind control, Ryan. Welcome back. Or is it not Ryan? Is it something else?
Ryan. Sorry, that's the best fake name I could come up with.
Randy. How about Randy?
There we go. Ralph. My last name is that much more funny now.
Stop. Proceed.
Back in present day, Wanda tries to attack Agatha, but finds her magic nullified by the presence of protection runes in the basement. Agatha taunts Wanda for convincing herself that the imposter Pietro was her real deceased brother in her grief. She also reveals her fascination with the Westview anomaly Wanda had created, which involves simultaneous mass usage of mind control and transmutation over an expansive radius. Agatha, you're even running illusions miles away at the edge of town. Magic on autopilot, baby. Wanda is wanting to learn the origin of Wanda's incredible magical abilities. Agatha decides it's time for Wanda to look at some real reruns and opens a door to Wanda's past.
So I thought on rewatch, I think these are the scenes that I forgot the most.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a really smart thing to do. This is basically the only open question. Like, how'd you get your power? Right. And we never saw the Mind Stone stuff. And so this I thought was really good. And I also thought this served as oddly enough, 8 episodes into this TV show as her origin story.
Yeah, and it's really smart to do it that way, right? Because like we have enough of her origin story ish from Age of Ultron, where we know she's enhanced, yada yada yada. But like this is so if they had done this really early on or something, it would have been kind of like, why'd we have to do this? But at this point, it's like, oh, we've built up that she has all this way more interesting stuff going on. How did we get here?
Right.
So we're back in Sokovia, circa 1999. The Maximoff family is gathered on TV night to practice their English and watch old sitcoms. Wanda picks her favorite sitcom, The Dick Van Dyke Show. The idyllic suburban life featured in the show stands in stark contrast to the violence and war occurring outside. In the middle of the binge, the Maximoff parents are killed when their house is bombed by weapons made by Stark Industries.
Man, those are powerful toasters.
One of those bombs is in front of Wanda and Pietro, who are hiding under some rubble, and they just watch it flash. They just watch the red light flash. Key back to the toaster commercial. Agatha suggests Wanda used her latent magic to cast a probability hex and neutralize the weapon. Agatha says, so what I see here is a baby witch obsessed with sitcoms and years of therapy ahead of her. Doesn't explain the recent hijinks. Where'd you get the big guns, Wanda? Next stop is the Hydra research base circa 2014. We see Baron von Strucker experimenting on various subjects with the Mind Stone. Most of the test subjects usually die, but when Wanda enters the chamber, the Mind Stone is drawn to her presence and then explodes, revealing the outer shell, which is blue, explodes, and we see the inner amber Mind Stone. In the blast, she sees an apparition of herself as a mythical being before collapsing. However, the security footage is spliced to omit the explosion.
So
She's not the Scarlet Witch yet.
let's just call her. No, I do like Sokovia, Dick Van Dyke. Great.
Yeah.
Like, that's how you got the first episode. Here, you see her controlling reality, splicing, editing, which we see throughout the TV show.
Yep. Wanda became the experiment's first survivor, and Agatha suggests that the Mind Stone's power amplified her abilities. Agatha has a theory, but needs more information. Agatha and Wanda go to the Avengers compound, which is the first place that Wanda and Vision live together and where their romance spawned. There they have an iconic discussion about grief, which, man, still gets me, and also is so good. Wanda, the only thing that would bring me comfort is seeing him again. Sorry, she says to Wanda, or she says to Vision, referring to Pietro. I'm so tired. It's just the wave crashing over me again and again. It knocks me down. When I try to stand up, it comes for me again, and it's just going to drown me. Vision, no, it won't. Wanda, how do you know? Vision, well, because it can't all be sorrow, can it? I've always been alone, so I don't feel the lack. It's all I've ever known. I've never experienced loss because I have never had a loved one to lose. But what is grief if not love persevering? Great line.
Oof. Yeah. It's funny when you read it and you could just substitute Pietro for Vision and it's the same thing over again.
Yeah. Finally, the two view Wanda's arrival at the Sword headquarters. This is just a few days after attending Tony Stark's funeral. Wanda wants to recover Vision's remains for a proper burial. She meets director Tyler Hayward, who takes her in to see Vision. Wanda is horrified when she enters the operating room to see Vision's corpse being dismantled by Sword personnel in a scene pulled straight from a comics panel. Like, there is a comics panel that is exactly this.
Yeah, I've seen it. It looks great. It's a nice nod for sure.
Yeah. Hayward says Vision is being dismantled because he is a weapon. Wanda says she simply wants to bury him, but Hayward questions her intent. Hayward disallows her from taking his remains and burying $3 billion of vibranium in the ground. Wanda breaks into the operating room and attempts to interact with her deceased lover, but she is unable to feel him there. I can't feel you. Leading her to leave the facility without further incident.
Yep. So not as depicted before. Very kind of heartbreaking scene. And this is where the cause, the reason for creating the reality, right?
It's super clear that like Hayward is manipulating her here, right? He's having security not take the shot that they have. He's letting her really get emotional because I think he knows what kind of comes next.
You think so?
He at least wants to see. I think he wants to see what her powers have. what her power set is.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. It would be. I'll have to think about this a little. Maybe we talk about for more on the secret show. Like, what is his motivation here? Because she could have taken him. He clearly wants to keep. Maybe it was. Can she somehow revive him? Yeah, that might be it. But with the Mind Stone gone, I don't think she has. Although her powers are imbued with the Mind Stone, and she's probably more powerful than the Mind Stone. So
yeah. I think obviously Hayward doesn't have the script, and so like he doesn't necessarily know. But I think it's trying to depict Hayward as that guy who kind of does the field experiment, if you will, right? Is Wanda an asset that Sword can use in the future?
Right.
Wanda drives to an empty lot in Westview, which she and Vision had purchased. She opens the property drawing, and there's a heart, which reads "To grow old in," signed by V. Also, on the deed, his name is literally The Vision, which
love it.
Made me giggle a little bit. Wanda is overwhelmed with grief, collapses to the ground in anguish, inadvertently unleashing a colossal amount of chaos magic that manifests in the house. Wanda then releases a second wave of magic, which transforms Westview into the sitcom suburb, forms the barrier to isolate the town, and creates a new Vision out of thin air and Mind Stone magic. Wanda sees herself settling in with her Vision in her idyllic paradise, as seen in the beginning of episode 1. She looks around, sees the TV studio with lights and cameras. Agatha sits in the audience and slowly applauds before vanishing. Wanda hears the cries of her children, Billy and Tommy, outside, and discovers that Agatha has taken them hostage and is binding them with magic ropes. Having deduced Wanda's abilities as a manifestation of chaos magic, Agatha scolds her for using her powers for mundane purposes and informs her that she is the mythical Scarlet Witch. Mic drop.
About time.
And we jump out to a post-credit scene. Back at the Sword base, Hayward activates White Vision, a successful reconstruction of the Vision's body using Wanda's chaos magic siphoned from the drone she had destroyed.
This is the part where I'm like, okay, I've believed a lot of nonsense till now. A lot of magic, lot of fake science stuff. There's no way that these dummies, in comparison to Tony Stark and others, could create a working White Vision that works as well. There's no way. But we'll let it go because we're into the final episode. Series episode 9, the series finale. So we return to see Agatha. So she's floating in the air. She's holding Billy and Tommy hostage. There's a comic book scene, a cover, which I think is a direct nod to this as well.
Yeah.
Wanda frees them, sends them to their room. When she's attacked by Wanda, Agnes absorbs her chaos magic and a sliver of her life essence. So this is Agatha's gig. This is what she likes to do. She likes to absorb magic, right? Mm. She offers a deal to Wanda. Hey, I'll maintain the Westview anomaly in exchange for your chaos magic. I mean, it seems pretty like a fair trade. It's kind of like when you're playing Monopoly and you're trading a purple for a couple oranges and $1,000. You're like, yeah, okay, sure. That seems like a fair trade for me. I love the purple. Anyway, Wanda throws a car into Agatha, crashes her into the house. So she knows she can't use the magic directly. And that this was like a fun little Wizard of Oz where the house is, she's underneath, the shoes are underneath. It's great.
Yeah.
Just then, White Vision arrives in Westview. Wanda momentarily believes it's her husband, and still he starts to crush her head. And the noise it makes just makes me very uncomfortable watching that.
Yeah.
True Vision arrives, drags White Vision down the block, throws him in an RV, which explodes. Awful CGI, but they're running out of money. They've already spent $200 million by this point in time. Wanda apologized to Vision for not revealing the truth about Westview earlier, but says he understands why she made her false world. As their enemies reemerge, Vision ascends to the skies to fight his white counterpart while Wanda chases Agnes down to the town center. We then get a series of quick action cut scenes. Vision asks if they can settle things peacefully. Answer is no. Wanda must be neutralized and Vision must be destroyed. At the sword base, Jimmy Woo is brought in handcuffs to Tyler Hayward, who remains keen on assassinating Wanda and covering up with false narrative. Wu managed to release himself from his handcuffs and contact his FBI allies nearby. Can you be here in an hour? Agnes informs Wanda about her depiction in the Darkhold, forged into reality with powers exceeding those of the Sorcerer Supreme. The Scarlet Witch is destined to destroy the world. When Agatha attempts to deny any correlation of legend to her, Agnes proceeds to gaslight her by releasing every Westview resident from their thrall, leaving them to surround her in this very kind of like, I don't want to say quite Walking Dead, but this unwalking Dead where these people are no longer zombies and are aware and are coming towards her. It's super creepy. Pietro is keeping Monica Rambeau prisoner inside his man cave. She soon discovers Pietro's real identity as Ralph Boner.
Boner.
I didn't like the joke, man.
It was. I think it was disappointing. It was disappointing in the sense that, like, oh, we could have had some really cool multiversal stuff happening here, and this was like a really big letdown from that. But yeah, and I don't know. Did you catch? I didn't catch it until this watch through. Whenever Agatha, and I think she does it in almost every episode, refers to her husband or her partner, it's always Ralph. My husband, Ralph, which I didn't catch until this watch through. I was like, oh, Ralph Boner. I get it now. But,
yeah. I don't know. The Ralph Boner thing, I just didn't like. It's like something I would like draw on a t-shirt on game night. It just wasn't like quite fit. Anyway, but it supposedly in deleted scene, Ralph Boner is the missing person that Jimmy Woo was originally looking for. And he's seen using a tool from a fire truck to cut off an ankle monitor and sneak away. That was deleted.
And weirdly, I think he might be the character who's come back the most in MCU TV shows. So here we are. Because he comes back, twice more at least?
Does he?
Yeah. We'll talk about it when we get there.
Okay. Yes. The Vision engages in a big CGI sky battle while Billy senses his mother's emotional turmoil. So Billy and Tommy come to her aid. So the Westview residents bombard Wanda with emotional pleas and haunting revelations. And it is like heartstring,
kids locked in bedrooms, and it was
like
brutal.
Or Dottie, I think she says something effective like, I'll keep up the ruse, but like something about her, let her daughter go. And it's terrible. So she is overwhelmed, inadvertently releases another burst of magic that nearly kills the citizens. It's kind of, my bad. Egged on by Agnes, Wanda complies with the Westview residents' pleas for liberation by initiating the anomaly's destruction. So she starts to bring down the Hex. However, this also has the unintended consequence of destroying Vision and her children and disintegrating them. So she puts the halt on that plan. So, but the barrier is open. Hayward uses the opportunity to funnel his men into town. And as the barrier shuts, the FBI agents arrive to join Agent Wu on the outside. So we're ready for the final showdown. Agnes is joined by White Vision and Sword as they surround the family. White Vision attacks Vision and tells him that his protocol is to destroy Vision. True Vision says that he's not the True Vision, but only a conditional Vision. Maximoff boys disarm Sword, which I thought was kind of fun. Like little kids, like And then Hayward
him up and then uses his speed.
Totally. And then Hayward's about to merge. He merges with Farm, tries to kill them. Very dark.
Oh yeah.
Monica jumps in, absorbs the bullets before Hayward drives away. As he attempts to drive off, Darcy Lewis shows up for one scene, runs to the car with the food truck and says, "Have fun in prison." She was originally not going to be in the finale because, again, remember these production started and stopped and there was a big break and she had signed up to do something else. So basically she filmed her single line in front of a blue screen, which is why she appears just for a moment.
Okay.
Vision confronts his doppelganger and leads White Vision to contemplate existence with a philosophical lecture about the ship of Theseus. And
I love this like theological fight here is great.
This philosophical, like, if you take down a plank of a boat and rebuild it somewhere, is it the ship? If you remove all the, is it still the ship? Vision helps to restore the original memories inside White Vision, who flees, who is now aware of his past. And as Vision reunites with his boys, Wanda subjects Agnes to a hallucination, which revisits her 1693 witch trial. But her attempt to torment Agnes with zombie witches backfires when they recognize Wanda as the Scarlet Witch. One real quick comment on the White Vision scenes. Paul Bettany teased on the show that he was going to work with an actor he was always wanted to work with, and that turned out to be himself. And he had to give an advance warning the day before this episode that he underestimated how many folks get into the theories, and he was like, "No, it's me. Just stop your Reddit scrolling." Sorry about that, guys. When we return to reality, Wanda repeatedly blasts Agnes with chaos magic, seeming to allow her to absorb it all, but this is a ruse that gives Wanda cover to cast protection runes within the anomaly, which renders Agnes powerless. So she can't use any of the chaos magic that she's been blasted with. So the entire, as I understand it, the entire hex is a rune, which is wild.
Yeah. Crazy
amount of power. So Wanda reclaims her chaos magic, thus fully morphing into the Scarlet Witch. The defeated Agatha is imprisoned within her Agnes profile persona by Wanda, as she reunites with her family, who recognize that Westview is no longer a place for them. So, and this is where it gets really sad. So,
dude, I was in tears at this point.
As the anomaly starts to dissipate, the family returns home for a final time. Wanda and Vision, they bid goodbye to their boys. They tuck them into bed. She and Vision reflect on their history they've shared. And they have this interaction, which it's kind of long, but I'll read it real quick. Wanda, I know we can't stay like this, but before I go, I feel I must know. What am I? Wanda says, you, Vision, are the piece of the Mind Stone that lives in me. You are a body of wires and blood and bone that I created. You are my sadness and my hope, but mostly you are my love. Vision says, I've been a voice with no body. A body, but not human. And now, a memory made real. Who knows what I might be next? We have said goodbye before, so it stands to reason. Wanda says, we'll say hello again. Vision says, so long, darling. And then they embrace, and the anomaly is completely erased, taking the family with it. Yeah. So the anomaly's ended. The Maximoff house has returned to its original empty lot state. Wanda returns to the town square, reconciles with Monica before ultimately fleeing Westview. And that is the end of episode 9. Almost.
In our great tradition, we'll keep the after credits scene to the after credits. But yeah, I it's so emotional, that ending. It's brutal. So let's get into our closing thoughts here, David. So why is this show significant? What was our main takeaway? Yeah.
Reboot 4, the new saga, right? Like phase 4. This is it. They had to lay a lot of crumbs. They have to lay a lot of groundwork. You're bringing back old characters we've seen before. You've created a backstory for Wanda. You have paved the way for new future White Vision and Agatha and Photon, who appear all in other properties. Vision will be having his own TV show, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Vision Quest here soon.
Mm-hmm. And I think, I mean, from a production, it is relevant because you were able to pull off an MCU created show for Disney Plus that was very well received and well done.
It was the first like prestige TV that the MCU had done, right? We can talk about like the Netflix shows, but those weren't really Marvel Studios. Those were Netflix produced. We can talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but that was network television, right? It wasn't really the same, and there's arguments about how canonical or whatever, it was all under Ike Perlmutter's thumb and all that stuff, and so was Inhumans and all that stuff. Like all of that, yes, there was TV that existed about Marvel properties that loosely at least tied into the MCU before, and I don't want to necessarily erase those things, but this was like the first under the like joint venture that was just a single studio of Marvel Studios, and the first really truly prestige TV show that could have showed up on HBO in a different era, right? Like
Mhm.
this is like your Game of Thrones, your Sopranos, those sort of things. Like this was of that same ilk, and it was the first time they did that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was, I think, also really important because, I mean, let's just say that let's say the first season for a Disney Plus show was Echo. Like,
Right.
how the rest of it looks is going to be a lot different,
I agree.
right?
I agree. I think story wise, it also introduces us to to know we haven't nerfed Wanda, right? She just wasn't there yet. And now it is the Nexus being Scarlet Witch, like scary, powerful Wanda.
Yeah, that's a really good comment. Like, it is the emergence of the Scarlet Witch. It's funny when reading the comments. I always knew her as the Scarlet Witch, but she
Mm-hmm.
wasn't as powerful. Now she is like, oh, you are the Nexus being. You are big. Okay,
Yeah,
I got
yeah, big deal, like world ender type of in X-Men parlance, right? She's Omega level.
com-
She's yeah,
completely.
yeah. Well, so new question for TV shows, David. What was your favorite episode of this one?
I think the I think the easy answer is the Halloween one because it's so
Right?
much fun,
Yeah.
right? I think I think I'm going to choose, but I'm not going to choose the Halloween one. I think I'm going to choose its episode. Make sure I have the right number here. It is episode. I like 7. That was the
Okay.
breaking the fourth wall, where it's very
Yeah, the
much like,
2000s.
yeah, I liked the style of it. I like how they're kind of tying it all together. The the punchline of the Agatha all along, and they
Oh
kind of
yeah.
like, this is how we did the mystery. Here's how we manipulated all along, and the little like mini cliffhangers, like how are they going to get out of this? How about
Yeah.
you?
I will say the easy one, which is the Halloween episode. I mean, part of it is, again, I was, you know, I grew up in the 90s, and so like that era of sitcoms is my favorite. And so the kind of thematic elements that pulled to the 90s sitcoms, I think the inclusion and the exploration of Evan Peters as Pietro was interesting. The boys manifesting their powers was really cool. The comic accurate, even though they were like Halloween costume versions of it, the comic accurate costuming, I really enjoyed that episode. The plot points of it, definitely moved the story forward in a lot of really good ways. Um, but I really enjoyed that one. I thought that one was really fun, and had some real heft to it. It definitely wasn't as emotional as like you said. I think episode 7 was also or no, episode 8 would have been the exploration of Wanda's backstory, which was also really really emotional and really well done. Um, and so yeah, but I will go with the Halloween episode.
Yeah, there's kind of no wrong choices. It just depends. I think part of it depends. Like when you grew up, like I have a sentimental attachment to like the earlier like Brady Bunch kind of stuff, and growing up a couple decades for you, like all you would see is Dick Van Dyke and Brady
Right.
Bunch and all these reruns. So but I agree. I think they're all really good. But I think the Halloween one is a one I really enjoy as well. Question for you: who is your MVP for the series? I think you've got 3 choices.
Yeah. I think I agree, and I'm guessing we both think the same, like 3. I So something I learned in the Infinity Saga was I should pick people when I actually think it and not try and save them. And I'm gonna go with Agatha.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Senior Scratchy. Is the only.
Yeah, I'm gonna go over this whole series. Agatha, Agnes, really, it's Catherine Hahn. Like Catherine Hahn, just if she was if she was of that age in the 80s and 90s, she would have been in those shows. Like you
Of
watch
course.
her and she is spot on. She is a sitcom actor. Like she could have been in sitcoms easily.
Who was your second? I'm just out of curiosity. Who was your second choice?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I don't know that I have a second choice necessarily outright, but I will say, well, actually, give me yours, and then I'll give some honorable mentions because they're lesser, like they don't have as big of a role, but I enjoyed them. So I
Okay.
do want to call out a couple people, but I don't want to steal it from you.
Yeah, Catherine Hahn. I mean, she's been in like some. I would point out some of my very favorite, like humorous roles, and
Oh yeah.
like she is really, really, really funny.
Have
Like,
you seen her audition tape for Pam from The Office?
no.
That came across my Facebook Reels the other day. Like there was like a clip together of a bunch of like audition reels from The Office, and she had auditioned to be Pam. And I was like, "Oh wow, that actually it would have been a totally different character, but kind of would have worked."
I'll have to look for. Yeah, she's great stuff. She's great. That's a great choice. I think it's it's the choice between the two lead characters and Catherine Hahn, right? Um, I think I will. Oh, have I picked Elizabeth Olsen? I've certainly not picked Paul Bettany. I don't think I would have picked Elizabeth Olsen. I will
I don't think
go.
we had Scarlet Witch ever. Yeah.
I don't think. I mean, she's not a great actress. Let's be honest. But I'm going to say Elizabeth Olsen,
Okay.
just for the overall journey. I really did like. Paul Bettany had a lot of different aspects. He besides coming across as the robotic, semi-human synthezoid,
Yeah.
but you see comedy in the scene where they're doing the fundraiser. He's very funny. He does a good job of playing like being completely freaked out and like alarmed, and then very touching final speech that he has. But I'm going to give it to Elizabeth Olsen. She was obviously front and center for the whole thing. She did a good job of conveying a lot of different emotions like
Yeah.
grief and trying, love for her family. And I thought that she was also very funny. The Halloween episode, the Sokovian storytelling, it's just a lot of different things. So I would say
Yeah.
Elizabeth Olsen. Catherine Hahn was up there as well for me.
Yeah, the range that this show demanded from its actors is really impressive. Because like for anybody who was front of story, they had to go from being like 50s, you know very har kind of comedy, all the way to like with Liz Olsen, right? She had to play a emaciated like test subject in a effectively a Nazi science room, right?
Mhm.
Like the range there is incredible. And definitely something that I think maybe is a little by people who are just watching these as like comic book shows to kind of get on to the next thing, maybe is a little underestimated, but I think it's really impressive, and I did want to call that out, that like especially for those three, right? For Catherine Hahn, Liz Olsen, and Paul Bettany, they had a very, very long run there.
Yeah. The other thing I would say is with Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen, if you step back for a second, the relationship like doesn't make sense. Why you're a robot in love with a person, in love with a human, but we've now seen through from Ultron through now, like you get a sense that there is an actual, real, deep love that the characters have for each other, and you can even kind of sense that the actors have for each other.
Yeah, I think there's some real chemistry there.
I think so too. And I think it's the most believable relationship in the MCU. And even though it's the completely most incomprehensible relationship in the MCU. I remember reading them in the comics and like, wait, they're a couple? I don't get it. He's a robot. Like, he doesn't eat food. Like, where do you go out to dinner? Like, all that kind of stuff. And they
Yeah.
do just, it's this connection, this void that he helped her to fill with the loss of her brother, his like him being something for her, her showing him how to be human and have these relationships. And it's very deep and it feels very kind of real and earned, unlike some other ones in the MCU. So I just want to point that out as well.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree. And the honorable mentions I wanted to mention were Darcy and Wu. I think, they were side characters and I would not have ever named them as MVPs, but they were fantastic in this as well.
Darcy was a close fourth. Even though he showed up in a couple episodes, Evan Peters was a scene stealer.
Yeah, I agree.
He was really good.
I agree. All right. So our rankings are going to get weird. And I want to, I think for these TV shows, at least for this first one, because we haven't necessarily settled on anything, I'm going to ask you for 3 different rankings, David, and do your best to give all 3.
Okay.
And if they're different, or if they're all the same, it's fine. So ranking number 1 is out of the Disney Plus shows, top, middle, bottom. Ranking number 2 is out of the multiverse saga so far, top, middle, bottom, including the movies. And then ranking number 3, if you can, is MCU as a whole.
Let's hold off the MCU as a whole because we could do that. Okay. It's like a saga review, and I really, but I do think the first 2 are fair, and I think easy to. Now, let's just broach the issue of like comparing TV shows and movies. They're completely different creatures. Yeah. The difficulty level, the stories you tell, the complexity. I mean, and so I just want to acknowledge that first, that like the best TV show may not be as good as the best movie, right? The best Disney Plus is not going to be Endgame or Infinity War, Black Panther. But I would say as far as the Disney Plus shows, and as a reminder, we've got 2 seasons of Loki, well, in order: WandaVision, Falcon, Winter Soldiers, Loki, Hawkeye, Moon Knight, Miss Marvel, She-Hulk, Secret Invasion. Ooh, I forgot about that one. Loki, Echo, another season of Loki, Agatha All Along, and Daredevil Born Again. So we've got about 12 properties. So meaning if you're in the top third, it has to be the top 4th. I would say it's in my top 3rd.
I would agree. Top 3rd of the Disney Plus shows. I would agree.
And I think pretty firmly in the top 3rd. I think it's, in a sense, it's sort of the corollary to Iron Man. First one coming out.
Yeah.
Kicks it off. It kind of has to work. Kind of a weird concept. Remember, this was not going to be the first one. This would be Falcon the Winter Soldier, which feels more grounded, feels a little bit more easier to get into. But so for that reason, I think because of and also the weird story they're trying to pull off, it's my top 3rd for sure. As it relates to all of multiverse, I'm going to put it in my top 3rd. This is not going to come as a surprise. I think a lot of the multiverse stuff is not as good as the Infinity Saga. So I'd probably say top 3rd.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's probably close. And again, it's hard to compare movies and TV shows, right? The punch of a movie, like David said, the compact punch of a movie is it's hard. But I would, doing my best, I'm going to say like probably top 3rd, but maybe bottom of the top 3rd, could leak into the middle 3rd for me. It's very, very good. It's a very, 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 very good TV show. I'm just thinking through some movies, and such that I think would bump it probably into, because I think it's probably looking at 6 or 7, top 6 or 7 for the top, if I had to guess. So probably in that like 6-7 slot is where I would put this.
Yeah, I think we're kind of having the same range. I don't think WandaVision is it'll be interesting after we watch. Is it the best of Disney Plus? I don't know that it is. I think it's really, really good. Yeah. So, will the best of Disney Plus be in the top third of the multiverse? Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure of that. But will like the number 3? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, listeners, join us on this journey. Keep on listening. Please remember to check out our social medias on your social media of choice. We're Puny Pod, PUNYPOD. Also, check out the Ears Up Discord. We're interacting there. We're talking right now about Thunderbolts Asterisk because it just came out. So we're talking about that over on the Marvel channel. So come hang out with us in the Discord. The link is in the show notes. You don't have to pay to join that one or anything. I know a lot of podcasts do like a paid Discord. Ours is not. It's free for anyone to join. So feel free to join that. And with that being said, oh, come on. Oh, man. Oh, are you kidding me?
Leave it in. You have to leave it in.
With that all being said, thank you all for listening. Puny Pod will return with Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Caw-caw.
All right, David. So we do have an after credit scene here at the end of the series, which I think with these ones, if there's an after credit scene at the end of the series, we can do this in this way and it'll be fun. So on this one, we see the FBI arrive and arrest Director Hayward as Agent Wu assumes authority. Monica was asked by an agent to meet someone at a movie theater. Turns out that agent is a Skrull who was sent there by an old friend of her mother who would like to meet with her. When she says where, the Skrull points up to outer space.
I thought you were going to say heaven.
Oh.
Okay.
And then a later post-credit scene, we get Wanda has settled into the wilderness and has begun to study the Darkhold. And she hears her boys crying out for help because they are with Mephisto. I mean, they might be at this point. We don't know. So yeah, and this I get it doesn't spoil too much to say that like these basically are tags for the Marvels and Multiverse of Madness.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So we've seen a passing through the hex 3 times, super powered up.
Yeah.
I will point out that like the beekeeper dude, like he went through the hex. Did he get any powers?
Right? Is he Swarm now?
But yeah. So anyway, it does lay the groundwork for Photon, as she is known, adopts her mom's nickname that was on her plane, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the kids, we see Wanda studying the Darkhold. There's some question whether this is the base of Wundagore, the mythical location of her and Pietro's birth in the comics, and that's where we get the cow and all that stuff. The Darkhold. What can you tell us about the Darkhold?
So I think we saw reference to the Darkhold in Doctor Strange, if I remember right. But it's a powerful book written by Chthon, who is sort of the Marvel version of Cthulhu. And basically it's the source of chaos magic. And we'll explore way more about the Darkhold here when we get around to Multiverse of Madness. It plays prominently in that movie. But it is kind of the source of like the super powerful dark magic.
Yeah, sometimes it's like sometimes called like the Book of Sins or the Book of Spells, this collection of evil spells. We've seen it. We will see it in Multitude of Madness. We saw an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, when it was a different Darkhold, kind of, I think.
Yeah, I think people kind of freaked out. The Darkhold looks a little slightly different than in the, you know what I mean? Like it's just kind of like nerding out a little bit too much. Like, okay, guys, let's not get too precise here. Yeah, it was I guess for in the comic for years, like people have been trying to obtain the Darkhold. Won't get into its impact in the future movies, but basically the Darkhold was owned by Agatha, I think, since at 1693. Is that when she got it? The Wikipedia entry on the MCU wiki said she'd owned it for hundreds of years and used it to enhance her powers.
Yeah. Yeah, I think effectively. And I think we'll talk about that more in her show. I think that's talked about more there.
Okay.
So
anyway,
we'll confirm and we'll get that there. But yeah. So love this series. Love the after credits. Ralph Boner, dark spot aside, so good. So, but yeah, everybody, thank you guys for listening again, and we will catch you guys over in Falcon and Winter Soldier. So see you then. Bye, guys. Woo! Actually, that's a tidy.